Hi everyone, Jamie Humphries here for Six String Alliance, and today we're taking a look at the Wampler Ego 76 compressor pedal. So the Ego 76 is the brand new compressor pedal from Wampler, and this pedal is based on the legendary circuit of the studio compressor, the 1176 studio compressor, which is an industry standard and has been for absolutely decades. I myself use models of the 1176 within the UAD system, and it's kind of my go-to compressor for guitar, for drums, for bass, for pretty much everything. So I was really interested to check this pedal out. First of all, we have a tone control, and the tone control on this pedal is really nice, and it's a great feature to have on a compressor pedal. Sometimes when you're compressing clean sounds, they can become a little bit dark, and you can lose a little bit of the bite, if you like, to the sound. So having the tone control, you can just brighten the tone up. Also, if you're running with overdrive, sometimes it can become a little bit too bright, so you can darken things up. And also, in conjunction with other controls on this pedal, you can use that the tone control as like a tone sweetener. So you can just sort of get that sweet spot working with whatever guitar and amp you're using, where you can have this as a sort of always on pedal, adding its own tonal shaping to your guitar sound. Next up, we have the attack control, and the attack control controls how quickly the compression effect is applied to your sound. If we have it all the way down here, counterclockwise, that's a very fast attack. So as soon as you strike, you will hear the compression. And that's a really cool effect for sort of losing the attack of the pick and keeping everything nice and even. And as you turn the dial up, that gives you a slower attack time. So basically, from the point of where you strike the chord, you will hear more of the pick attack, and then the compression effect will be applied. The next control we have is the release, and that's how long the compressor will grab your sound for. So if you turn it down, that's a shorter release, so that will give you a much tighter, snappier sound, so the compressor won't be holding onto the signal as long. And if you turn it all the way up, then you have a longer release time, and that's really good for aiding sustain and letting your chords really bloom, or adding sustain when you're using it in conjunction with an overdrive pedal. Down the bottom here, we have a level control. Obviously, that's controlling the level of the effect, but that really does play a big part with the compressor, because when you really compress the signal, then your sound is going to become quieter. So we need to use the level control to sort of compensate for the level drop that you get when you're applying more extreme amounts of compression. And also you can use the level control to send more signal out of the pedal for driving into overdrive pedals or into the front of the amp to give you a little bit more gain. This is another really cool control here, which is the blend control. All the way down counterclockwise, if I can get my huge hands in there, that is the compression signal off. So that's all guitar, that's all clean guitar sound. And as you start to turn that up clockwise, in a clockwise direction, then it's starting to feed the compression into your guitar sound. So you can get a nice blend of it. This is really nice for the tone sweetening and adding more subtle effects. And if you turn it all the way up, then you will have a completely 100% compressed sound. Our final control is the compression control, and this is affecting the ratio. If you turn it all the way down, it's a low ratio, so that's going to be a lot subtler compression sounds, all the way up to very extreme compression with a higher ratio, which is almost working like a limiter, which means you are kind of capping the amount of level that you will get out of the pedal. That's quite interesting when you're running it after an overdrive pedal, because it effectively renders your volume control on your overdrive pedal as not really doing anything. It won't get any louder past a certain point. And this is kind of nice for controlling the level of pedals. Okay, so before we get into the demo today, I just want to talk about the opening track. I didn't want to kind of go the funk route. It's not really my thing. And I definitely didn't want to go the country route, because I would be able to probably visibly in real time see my subscribers leaving the channel. I have done some country, actually. I did a pretty cool country video a few years ago for Mesa Boogie, but it's not really my strong point. And I wanted to, kind of address using the compressor pedal how I like to use it as a rock player. I never really used compression that much up until the point of where I started touring with the Australian Pink Floyd show quite a few years ago now. I was in the American region of that band, so I was in America and South America and Canada for long periods of time for a few years. And when playing in that band, one of the essential effects is going to be compression. That's how I started building the rack. If any of you have sort of seen the huge rack of doom, which I've made a video of some time ago, that's when I first started getting into experimenting with rack effects and combining pedals with switches and stuff, similar to the kind of thing that Dave Gilmour uses. So I was using a couple of Dynacomps. I actually still have a Dynacomp in the rack. I suspect that that's going to come out and that this compressor will be added because it's far more flexible. So with that in mind, I thought to myself, well, when it comes to playing a track, let's do something which is a little bit more Dave Gilmour inspired. And so the idea of it was to play some clean melodic chord passages and hear how the compressor really brings the notes out and enables those chords to really bloom and sustain, as well as adding some harmonics. I also wanted to use it to drive the amp a little bit more, which I did for the rhythm guitar under the solo section. And I also used it after the tumnus to add some sustain. So I was, the solo, I was very much inspired by Dave Gilmour, but it was lots of sort of long string bends, long held notes. So you could really hear how the compressor would grab the signal and allow you to get some nice amounts of sustain. Equipment that I'm using today, I'm using my Ernie Ball Music Man Silhouette Special. This was actually my old Ozzy Floyd guitar. This was a custom built Music Man that I've had for many years. We have a Damasio Fast Track Fast Track 1, I think it is, in the bridge. It's one of my favourite pickups that I have in quite a few guitars. And then we have, I'm not sure which model they are, but they're the area single coils in the neck and middle, with is a nice and noiseless single coils. I'm running into the Mesa Boogie Fillmore 50 combo, and I'm using the Mesa Cab Clone IR, where I'm using a 1/12 close back impulse response. Okay, so for reference, let's just have a listen to a clean tone. I'm going to use some driven tones, but let's just have a listen to a clean tone. Let's turn the compressor off with everything sort of set in the middle. Try not to move the stand. Straight away, it's brought a little bit more life into the sound. Let's just turn down the attack. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to turn the compression up so it's quite obvious, and I'm also going to turn up the blend control just so you can hear some extremities of compression and get used to the sound for those of you that have never used a compressor pedal. So, see, that's where you need the level control because it's so heavily compressed, the volume has dropped. So, everything is kind of very much one level there. If I arpeggiate a chord, you know, it's really pulling the middle of the chord out. So now let's start to push up the attack so that it's not quite as obvious when I strike the chord. Now when I strike, you actually hear the front end of the guitar signal. Okay, let's turn down the release a little bit now. We can start to pull out some of the compression as well. Let's turn the pedal off so you get a little bit of reference. Go with the compressor pedal in. You can just hear it's thickened the sound up, and there's a lot more sustain to the chord, and it's kind of sucking the notes out of the chord a little bit. You're starting to hear more of the notes. It's just a little bit more even. So that sound is still quite extreme. So let's have a little bit of fun there with the blend control. If we turn the blend control down, and now I have to adjust the volume because when you're adjusting the blend control, that's giving me more of my clean signal. That's the clean signal. All the way up is fully compressed. And there you can hear in the middle, you kind of got a blend there of the compression sound with the clean signal. So you retain some of the characteristics of your unaffected tone, and then you're just bringing up the compression around it. Okay, while we're on that setting, let's just have a listen to the tone control. Darken the sound up. You can hear how bright it becomes. So that's a very interactive control with a lot of range with that tone control. Okay, so now let's try experimenting a little bit, having a little bit of fun, just playing around with it. I'm going to try and get myself a sort of pseudo funk guitar tone out of the pedal. You can hear it's just got that that tightness to the sound. Let's just bring the release down a little bit more, because if I turn the release up, you can hear it kind of swelling, pulling the sound of the chord out. If we cut that down a little bit, let's bring in a little bit of the clean sound. Turn the pedal off. Have a listen with the pedal off. Turn the pedal on. You know, it's kind of subtle. If we bring in a little bit more of the compression sound. Okay, then we bring up the level just to kind of even out where we're compressing. Now, a really good use for a compressor is for evening out your playing. So say, for instance, you're playing some clean guitar and you're playing some licks and then you're going to chords. Sometimes you can find that there's a massive drop in the licks that you're playing, in the single note lines that you're playing, as well as some of the notes really not coming out as well as when you go to play the final chord or go back into your rhythm playing, then the chord is very overpowering. This is why country guitar players use it. Now, I'm not a country guitar player. If I play like a country style lick, now you could hear there that the lick was a lot lower, but the chord was a lot louder. So if I kick the compressor in, you'll be able to hear how the notes of the lick are going to be at the same level and the chord is going to be controlled. I think that's really cool, the way that it lifts out the quieter notes. You can hear that's all at a nice level. If I turn off the compressor, you know, when I'm pulling off to the notes, that's quieter, but the notes that I'm either finger picking or picking, those are a lot louder. So there's inconsistencies in the level of the phrase. So that's a great example of how a compressor can be used in your guitar rig. It can really even things out. Another great application for this pedal is to have it as a tonal enhancer and just leave it on in the background. I'm just going to play some chords for you without the pedal engaged. Let's kick the pedal in and have a listen to how it's lifted the sound. Now, using the blend control, if I turn that down, turn the blend control up, drop down the compression, turn the pedal off just as a reference. Straight away, it's just lost that weight, as well as all of the notes of the chord sounding just a little bit fuller. So again, this can be just something that you can have on your pedal board and experiment with the blend controls to taste how much of the compression you want in there, utilizing the tone control as well, just to use it for some tonal dressing to your existing guitar sound. Something else that I like to do with the compressor as well is to really allow it to pull the notes of a chord out. Let's just go for a slightly slower attack and a longer release. And I'm going to experiment with the compression control as well as the blend control. So let's just play without the pedal on. Okay, engage the pedal now. I love the way all of a sudden all the notes. If I play that chord without the compressor, it just sounds flat. It just kind of lifts the sound. You can hear it there. It's just grabbing the signal, allowing the chords to sustain. So depending on how you set it, obviously I'm just, tweaking the knobs a little bit here. If I turn the attack all the way up, actually, so that that's a very slow attack. It's a little bit more subtle. If I drop that down, it's quite a lot more subtle. There it is. It starts sucking the notes of the chord out. But I like it a little bit more subtle than that. Probably setting a little bit of the blend in there just. You can just hear it just brings the guitar sound to life, and when you're playing clean, it really brings the notes out. So everything in the chord is very apparent. Now let's look at how we can use the compressor to enhance the sound of the amplifier by pushing the front end a little bit more to add a bit more gain and also thicken the sound up. Here's my sound. Very mild overdrive. If I kick in the pedal, okay, turn the pedal off. You can hear it's really fattened the sound of the guitar up as well as pushing the amp a little bit harder. I can add more sustain. Turn that all the way up. Dial in a bit more of the compressed signal. You can hear how it's grabbing hold of the sound and aiding sustain. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick in the tumness. So I was using it after the tumness. I was using it on top of a slightly driven amp. If we bring in the compressor pedal, we can now get we can get a lot of additional boost. You can hear I'm getting more sustain. Let's just turn the compressor off. Okay, compare it with the compressor pedal on. It's just pushing a bit more compression. You can hear how it's holding on to the notes and giving you more sustain. And obviously, if I push the level more into the amp, you know, when you compare that to the original sound without, you can hear that the note is just dying off. Okay, so there you have it, the Ego 76. Hopefully my demonstration has showed you some of the different things that you can do with the pedal. I'm not, as I said, I'm not really a massive compressor pedal user, but I think that this pedal opens up a few doors for adding it into a setup and just having it on for not really sort of obvious compression effects, more of a, you know, taking a basic tone it's just thicken the sound up. You know, it's quite a transparent sounding compressor. There's the sound without the compressor, bringing it in. It's just made all my chords. So as you can hear, aside from the sort of stylistic compression effects or the effects and sounds that we associate with the compressor, the country guitar, the funk guitar, this just adds a nice bit of tonal dressing to your guitar sound. And I think that this has a really cool application. You know, it's leveling out the chords, it's bringing the notes of the chords out, and it's just adding its own tonal quality to the sound of the guitar. Anyway, there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this demo, and be sure to check out the link in the description. And if you don't already, please subscribe. That's it from me. Bye for now.